Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and yeah, today's going to be an exciting one. I'm going to give you a full review and gameplay of the first wheeled vehicle in World of Tanks. It is the Panhard EBR. I'm going to be letting you know everything there is to know about this tank, including the new game mechanics, the boost mode, the different drive modes this vehicle has, how it has an enhanced auto-aim feature, exactly what you have to do to immobilize this tank, and how much damaging one, two, or more of the wheels will affect its mobility. This thing is going to be the fastest tank in the game, and it can go backwards just as fast as it can go forwards. Let's jump straight into it. So the Panhard EBR 75 is a tier 8 premium French wheeled light tank, and as of yet I have absolutely no details of when and how this will come to the game. So I've already reviewed the statistics of this vehicle in a previous video, and nothing really much has changed since then. Let's just highlight the best features. This vehicle, as the name would suggest, uses a 75mm main armament with 175 average damage, 180 standard pen, with APCR with 1,300 meters a second shell velocity, 220 millimeters of heat pen as its premium rounds, and also the vehicle gets high explosive rounds with 75 millimeters of penetration, where the alpha damage increases from 175 up to 260. Now this thing has an autoloader, but it only contains 2 shells per magazine, meaning that if you load standard ammunition, you can do 350 damage if you penetrate both of the shots, and if you load HE, well, your penetration drops massively, but your clip potential goes up to 520, which can be very nice for going in and taking out those self-propelled guns, or alternatively, taking out light tanks. And if you manage to penetrate HE, then your damage per minute goes up massively. Luckily, the intra-clip reload of this tank is exceptionally good at 1.5 seconds, and it's only tanks like the TVP T50/51 that have such good intra-clip reload. Also, the aim time of this tank is absolutely ludicrous at 1.15. This has the lowest aim time of any tank in World of Tanks. And when you combine this with a ridiculous turret traverse speed of 70 degrees a second, this means that this thing is just able to quickly engage its targets and not even have to flinch before it fires off its first round once it's identified them. The tank's accuracy is neither great nor bad at 0.36, the same as the STB-1 I believe, but the vehicle has insanely good dispersion values when moving and also when turning the turret, which when combined with the aim time and vertical stabilizers means this thing is pretty much as accurate on the move as it is when it's stationary. Well, thinking about it, that might be a slight exaggeration. You're definitely more accurate when you're completely stationary, but let's just say it like this. If you're the kind of player who likes to bomb it around, never really stop to snipe, and is always constantly firing on the move, then there's going to be no better vehicle for you. The vehicle has 2 different mobility modes. It has a cruise mode, which increases the vehicle's tank traverse, enabling it to duck and weave or alternatively circle slow enemy vehicles. You can see which mode your vehicle is currently in as there's an in-game speedometer. You can change the mode that you're currently in from cruise mode to rapid mode or vice versa by pressing the same key that you would do to switch into siege mode in your Swedish tank destroyers. By default, that's X. However, I found it very useful to rebind this onto a mouse button. I'll be talking more about that later. Now, inside this rapid mode, the top speed limit of the tank increases from 60 up to 80. However, your traverse speed falls, and so it can make the vehicle very awkward for trying to go round tight corners. And in addition to this rather amazing top speed limit of 80, the vehicle's reverse speed is the same as forwards, which means that when you're inside the rapid travel mode, you can go backwards at 80. When you combine this with an incredible power to weight ratio of over 33, it allows you to accelerate up to top speed very quickly. In addition to this, the vehicle has great gun depression at 8 degrees, and with an excellent crew and fully pimped out, I was able to get the camera rating of the vehicle up to about 40 or 42%. However, this is where the good news ends, because ladies and gents, this vehicle has 2 very big issues. Number 1, it is a very large target to hit side on, as are most of the French vehicles that you will encounter in World of Tanks. I found that personally, when you're just driving straight at your opponents and you're wiggling, this is still quite a tricky tank to hit. However, if they do get the broadside of this vehicle, especially at 50 to 100 meters, it doesn't really matter if you're driving at 80 kilometers an hour, it's still a pretty easy hit. In addition to this, the vehicle has practically no armor with 40 millimeters at the front, only 30 on the turret, and the side is 16 millimeters thick, which means that quite often enemies will be able to hit your tracks. Sorry, I mean wheels. I'm probably going to mess that up so many times with this, as it's a completely new concept, and they're also going to overmatch your hull and damage your tank. And considering that this vehicle has 950 hit points, yeah, it really doesn't go a long way with regards to the tank's durability. Also, and this is the biggest weakness of the tank, that its view range is 310 meters base. Oh, there are tier 2 tanks in the game that have higher view range than that, which means that even with coated optics and a fully upgraded crew, I was only able to get the view range of this vehicle up to about 370 or 380 meters. To put that into perspective, Most tier 8 and above tanks have that as their base view range before you take into account cruise skills. In many of my tier 8 light tanks, I can get up to about 490 meters view range with coated optics. This tank has a massive problem trying to spot its opponents at long range, and so that's what makes this vehicle balanced and means that it's not a pure light tank replacement. The amount of times that I was outspotted by light tanks, which prevented me from making large sweeping maneuvers or just allowed them to get easy shots into me or avoid me altogether, was happening in multiple occurrences in the first 40 games I've played in this vehicle. And for those of you who are thinking, well, you just put binoculars on the tank, right? Then the view range isn't going to be too bad. Well, Wargaming have one-upped us on this one. You cannot put binoculars on wheeled vehicles. Well, at least this wheeled vehicle. Wargaming is trying to do everything they can to ensure that these tanks are not new passive scouts. Even though in the right situation, they can do some passive scout role, the fact that they can't use binoculars means that they just can't get their view range up high enough to be able to spot even poorly camouflaged vehicles at mid to long ranges. Now, as the EBR 75 is going to be a premium vehicle, I'm sure a lot of you French light tank drivers are out there are going to be thinking, well, what kind of a crew setup does it have? Well, it actually has an additional crew member to other premium light tanks, such as the AMX 1357, which has a standard loadout of a commander, a gunner, and a driver. However, on the EBR, the commander is actually the loader, which is bizarre, because a lot of your radio operator skills that you'll be using on crews such as the AMX 13105 will not be useful. And that's because the EBR has a dedicated radio operator. And so if you're really keen to be able to get a head start in this tank right from the get-go when you get your hands on it, consider changing one of your already skilled crew members into the qualification of a loader for this tank, although that will cost you 500 gold. Alternatively, considering how many female tank crew members that Wargaming are giving to us, then consider recruiting one of them immediately to be the loader on the EBR, so you can fully prepare for the French wheeled light tanks. A passing mention should be made that Wargaming have actually got 3 new statistics inside the garage, specifically for wheeled vehicles. Number 1, maximum wheel turning angle, which is 25 degrees for this tank. And also the time it takes to switch to the rapid mode and the time it takes to switch to the cruise mode. So maybe this is going to be different for the other French wheeled light tanks coming relatively soon. Anyway, that's quite enough jibber jabber. Let's take the fastest tank in the game out onto the battlefield. Alright, so here we go, ladies and gents. There's going to be a lot to talk about, so I hope that you are all focused right now. Immediately, you're seeing the speedometer in the middle of your screen, and I've used my mouse button, or for you, you'll be using your X key to switch from cruise mode into rapid mode, which will up the speed limit of the tank to 80. Look on the map. My view range, my dynamic view range indicator doesn't even get up to the 445 spotting top, even though I pretty much have a fully pimped vehicle. Also, notice that I used auto aim there. The enhanced auto aim on this tank allows you to not actually have to click the tank, but click near the tank with your right mouse to be able to shoot it. So you can look elsewhere, because trust me, in these tanks you will need to. Okay, so I fired 2 APCR rounds at the Bulldog. Now I'm reloading high explosive rounds that are going to do more damage. 298, and I don't auto aim, sorry, I manually aim at the front of the bat chat to finish him off as well. Now what's this Tiger 2 coming down up above us? Alright, well, he's going to try and have a go at the QuickyBaby. Oh buddy, doesn't look like it worked out too well. We used the enhanced auto aim feature there again, and you can see the special crosshair that tells you what you're auto aiming at. Looks like this guy really wanted to take me out. We're going to fire our high explosive rounds into his tracks there to lock him in place, and our team are going to finish him off momentarily. Come on. Okay. Oh, can I breathe now? There is so much to talk about when you're playing these vehicles. Really, it's just absolutely insane. Okay, so one thing you'll notice is they've actually turned off the rapid travel mode now to enter in the cruise mode, so my mobility is better. You see how much more agile and maneuverable this tank is. You're going to have to get used to changing between the rapid mode and the cruise mode for obviously when you need to use it. Now, one word of advice, and that is that whenever you switch between the cruise mode and the rapid mode, you usually lose about 10 to 15 kilometers, I guess, as the tank is lowering or raising the extra wheels actually on the side of the vehicle, which is just absolutely ridiculous. This whole tank, I'm so hyped for it. Let's just say it like that. Just wait for the end. I know a lot of you are going to be looking at it like, holy moly, did you just see how fast that vehicle was able to take an aggressive location, deal with 2 light tanks, and then bait a Tiger 2 into a stupid location? Is it going to be balanced? Well, more on that later on. Let's just focus on what the novel features of this tank are. And that is that you have to try and get into forward locations like this, because in a situation like this, I don't need 500 meters view range. But oh my word, we're doing something new again. Did you see that I held down my spacebar, I held down my W key until my engine fully charged up, and then I released it to be able to get a boost start. And so I'm driving around pretty much at 80 right from the get-go. But oh god, you better look where you're going and not looking at targets that you can manage to shoot. And so you can see we reversed there at about 50 kilometers an hour backwards to try and just dodge a few of the rounds. I was expecting the artillery or the T-20 to hit me there or something hiding behind that rock like the E-25. But luckily, we reversed, we went forwards, and that must bring me on to another of the biggest weaknesses of these vehicles. To be able to turn left and right, imagine you're in a car right now. If you're in a car, the wheels of the car can't go on opposite ways. So you can't have one side of the car going forwards and one side of the car going backwards. That's one of the benefits of a tank. But let's just focus on, again, I'm doing the boost start right now. I'm holding it down, and look how quickly we're able to get up into 80. We take a round from the T-20. He snaps one into us before our sixth sense even goes off. We're going to aim at the Tiger II here. We're going to fire one at the Tiger II, fire another one at the Tiger II. We connect one shell, and now we're going to reload our 2 rounds. I'm looking for the artillery, and there you go. This was my prize for that boost start right into the enemy base. 1 into him, 2 into him. A bit of a misplay there as I allowed the T-28 to get me. But look at this. This is such an interesting moment. The P-43 is like, tasty wheeled light tank, I'm coming for you. The T-28's like, tasty wheeled light tank, I'm coming for you. So what do? Well, I just bomb it in rapid travel mode, put 1 into the T-20. I don't think he expected me to do that because I put a second one into him as well. And I'm ducking and weaving, and I managed to get out. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't able to do this immediately, but after 30 or 40 games in this vehicle, I started to become confident. And when I started to know what I was capable of in this tank, you start to take calculated risks. We went in, we distracted 2 tanks. They were sitting in this location, having defensive fire at my team as they were advancing in. We went in, we demolished the artillery, and we even get out while we're alive. The boost start in this tank is just absolutely ludicrous. You can't do it going backwards, but you can do it going forwards. But again, let me get back to my point about one of the balancing mechanics of this these vehicles, and that is that you can't turn the wheels in separate directions. So in a tank, if you want to turn left or right, all you have to do is you have to basically hold your D key, and then your tank will turn. Because one side of the tracks, these ones are going to be going forwards if you want to turn right, and the other ones are going to be going backwards. And so can I do that? Oh, I don't think I could do it with my hands, but you get the point, and then the tank turns. However, in a wheeled vehicle, if you want to turn left, you either have to go forwards, or you have to kind of reverse and then go forwards that way. You have to do a 3-point turn, because that can make things incredibly awkward in these tanks. Get round the corner, enhanced auto aim, bam bam, T-20 done, and then we're looking for the T-28 and the P-43. Just the speed. The aggression. What was that noise? Was that us going over the rubble there? Did you see that I just decided to stop, and I'm actually driving backwards now? I know this looks a little weird. I almost need a special skin on this tank to remind me of what the reverse and what the front of the vehicle is. We're actually driving backwards towards the P-43. We baited him. We're right behind him now. I'm thinking about where he's going to try and shoot. And this is just, oh my god, I'm in love with this tank. I really am. But, again, I must highlight that, sure, this was a top-tier matchup, and we were engaging, was it some tier 6s? No, all tier 7s and tier 8s on the enemy team. But our actual result is not really that wild for a 6-minute slugfest. We didn't do that much spotting because of the poor view range of the vehicle. Our damage was great, but not really completely exceptional. But boy, did I have a lot of fun in this game. Alright, so next up we're in Siegfried Line, and instantly we activate our rapid travel mode because there is a big old field to be able to cover. Now, when you're playing these kind of tanks, you can make aggressive lines of engagement that other light tanks simply can't. Of course, if I was in a light tank, I'd probably be thinking more about going this way, safer into a location like this. However, in this vehicle, I feel like you need to be more aggressive because your view range is less, so I've just decided to try and cut off the enemy light tank. I'm expecting the LTTB to appear right in front of me, and there he is, the LTTB appears, but I'm not actually the one who spotted him. I couldn't see the LTTB even though he's about 300 meters away from me. I spotted the T10, and I see a Scorpion G at the back of the map, and I nearly flipped my tank, but not quite. Do you notice how close we have to get to our opponents to be able to see them? Right now we put 1 into the Scorpion, 2 into the Scorpion, and we reload high explosive rounds, hoping to be able to finish him off here. And he is just caught right out. And that is one of the best things about this tank, that you can use it to make aggressive plays, to take on artillery, and to take on those sneaky tank destroyers that like to hide at the back of the map. You know how many Scorpion Gs, you know how many SU-130 PMs there are in the game right now. Well, this vehicle, or should I say, these kinds of vehicles, the wheeled vehicles, if they go into the game as they are in Wargaming, keep it as what it is, which I'm pretty sure they are. I mean, I feel like these are more or less, obviously everything's subject to change, we've got to remember that, but I feel like these are starting to get more towards the final stats of the tank. So we actually hit the Conqueror's gun there, however the next one goes right into the side of the IS-3A. And what we're doing right now is I'm just playing the sniping role. Because remember, I'm going to get outspotted even by medium tanks on the enemy team. And so if I'm going to get outspotted by medium tanks on the enemy team, I can't really make the risky plays. I have to go close enough so that when I fire, that they're also going to be able to shoot me. Now, if I was playing a stereotypical light tank right now, you know, I'd have about 480 meters view range. What I would do is I would probably be more like... more like over here, and I would go forwards, I would spot the T-28, and then I would fall back where I knew that he wasn't going to be able to shoot me or to spot me, and then I would fire at him. However, in this vehicle, you need to make use of bushes. You need to use trees. What you do is you go forwards, you spot through the tree or just by the side of the tree. And that was a heat round into the side of the T-28 there, and now I'm going to be reloading a standard round. So what you do is you go forwards, and T-110E5 just manages to damage my vehicle, but I repair it, and so I keep my tank mobile. And I've actually outside the travel mode here, or the rapid mode, whatever you want to be calling it, and I went into cruise mode to try and get the extra mobility of the tank, or shall I say the traverse speed of the vehicle. Because when you're up on the pillbox, you really want to leave the rapid travel mode, otherwise you're going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble. Right into the side of the Conqueror turret there, and I just want to show you from this game what this tank's sniping capacity is like. It's great. The problem is right now is I'm not spotting any of these vehicles, and so really this is just a fortunate situation to find yourself in this tank. The fact that we've got a Conqueror who's sitting hold down, who's actually spotting for us. How weird is it that you've got tanks actually spotting for you when you play these things? All right, so we put one into the LTTP, but he uses that little hidey hole behind that, I think the barrier there to be able to avoid our shell. And we bounce an APCR shell off the front of that well-armored Tier 8 Soviet light tank. And so we're going to reload a heat round. We're going to see if we can manage to get him. He puts one into us. He gets a bit confident here. And we put one heat round into the top of his plate. Now we can reload standard rounds. So we're not really doing much spotting here. If I was playing in a light tank, I'd really feel like I'd be lighting up more of the enemy vehicles and spotting them for my team. However, this vehicle's a bit of a weirdo. It's a bit of a freak, really. It's kind of a super freak of a tank. It can do this sniping role to be able to support your allies at mid to long range, even when it has no hope of being able to spot them. But then, after the sniping is done, it's got this mobility to really start to go and put the pressure up on the enemy team, and that is to try and find this Object 263 who's going to be camping at the back of the map, and to be able to bomb it around at 80. And I think I'm driving backwards again. I'm always driving backwards in this tank. Am I driving backwards or forwards right now? Actually, that looks like it could be forwards. Yeah, it's probably forwards. And then we find the Object 263. We put one into his tracks. Do we lock his tracks down? Now we do. And we're going to reload some high explosive rounds here, because I was thinking that if I got right up alongside the vehicle and I shot between the tracks, that I could probably manage to penetrate him here. And looks like we do, actually. Well, we won't know for sure because we did 88. Then we're going to put one into the back of the AMX. We are. That one doesn't penetrate. And notice how much we're slowed right now. We've just lost 2 wheels. 2 wheels are damaged. You can see that they're wobbly, and we were limited to 30 kilometers an hour. If you have 2 wheels damaged in this tank, your speed gets halved from what it would be in cruise mode. And that is incredibly frustrating. You can't turn quickly. And to be limited down to 30 kilometers an hour, you really can't use your evasive maneuvers, and then you're a complete sitting duck. Now, of course, as long as you've got the repair kit, you can dab the 4 key for me, but I recommend you put your repair kits on your 5 key so you can press 5-5 with a small repair kit for your tracks, and then instantly they're recovered and you can get back up to full speed. But do keep that in mind, that as far as I can tell with the French wheeled vehicles, that if you lose 1 wheel, then you're pretty much okay. 2, your top speed gets halved and your mobility is drastically affected. And if you lose 3, I think my speed went down to about 15 or 20 kilometers an hour. And all you can really do is coast and use the momentum that you had. Okay, so now I want to show you another kind of duel that we had on Siegfried Line. And I'm playing against a Bat Chatillon 12T. So immediately I make my way towards the middle of the map, where I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to spot him, and he's definitely going to spot me. Now, if you don't really try to get close to the enemy light tank, and really surprise them with where you're going to be positioned, then all that's going to happen is they're going to spot you and you're not going to see them, and that's incredibly awkward. Alright, so we tried to fire some APCR shells at the bat chat, however we're unable to really connect anything, but I reload HE, and now, knowing where he's camping, I'm going to slowly make my way back inside the cruise mode in this tank to be able to spot him, and I'm going to pull back in front of the bush, put 1 in, put 2 in, 507 damage, and I don't even get spotted, ladies and gents. He thinks, oh, I'm absolutely stuck right now, and so he's going to make his way through towards the mid-ridge here, and I just feel like I've got this. We're going to use a boost mode to be able to get away from this ridge line quickly before he proxy spots us, and I just decided, sometimes, when you're playing probably the most fun tank in the game, you've got to just play for fun as well, right? So we're going to leap over this ridge, auto-aim at the guy, finish him off, turn the vehicle around, and then, yeah, we're going to do the same thing back again. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm lost for words. I'm just completely lost for words. The possibility of just absolutely crazy epic moments in these tanks. Now, in the interest of not just showing the highlights and the absolutely epic and fun moments that I've had in the EBR 75, I want to show you some of the realities. And that is that when you end up on the losing team and how frustrating it can be when you just don't have decent view range. Alright, so I'm going to skip out on the first 4 minutes of this battle. Basically, I went over into the bush location at E1. I tried to spot out. None of the enemy advanced. My team all hung around this location. I didn't have deep vision to be able to spot the mediums. And I didn't really have the gun performance to challenge the fronts of their tanks, even with application of heat rounds. So I've decided to use the mobility of the vehicle to instead try and push the east location because all of my tank destroyers seem to want to sit back here anyway. Now, I've pushed forwards here, and I thought I got spotted by the WT Alpha Panzer IV and put 1 high explosive round in and 2 high explosive rounds in. And we're really starting to chunk down that German light... Sorry, not the light tank, the German tank destroyer. Now we're going to reload again, and are we going to be able to finish him off? We can't quite see him because our view range was awful, so we didn't keep spotting him, and even the LT-432 didn't quite manage to spot him. So I knew that something fishy was going on, and considering I got spotted, well, it's quite clear where the LT-432 on the enemy team is. So I pinged the map, I let my LT-432 on my team let him know where he's going to be, and now I decide to try and push over and try and punish him. But unfortunately, I've got these high explosive rounds loaded, and whether I'm going to be able to penetrate a fairly well-armored Soviet light tank with 75mm of high explosive penetration is another question altogether. So I'm waiting for him to pop up, and now I've got the ambush on him. Now I'm in the bush. I can see the reticle goes green. He pulls back. I fire 1 to his tracks, 2 into his tracks. I've locked him in place, and I request fire against him, but it's too late. The WT Alpha Panzer IV managed to shut down our LT-432. So now I don't really have any support. So what can I do? I guess I could hang around in this ridge and wait for them to advance, and then maybe my tank destroyers are going to be able to get some shots in them finally from the back. But I'm just not doing any spotting this game because my view range is so poor that unless you get onto a map where you can try and create a short-range engagement, it's not going to work out. So instead, I decide to try and do something glorious. I'm going to try and flank around. I'm going to try and take out the WT Alpha Panzer IV. Then I'm going to try and take on the artillery. And then everything should be good, right? Yeah, but there's just one problem. The LT-432 on the enemy team has real light tank view range, and I can't see that fun. So even though he shoots me, he's shooting at me multiple times, and I can't even see where I'm getting shot from right now. I lose one of my wheels, but luckily when one is damaged, it's not the end of the world. And he hits me again, 2 wheels down now. My mobility is massively reduced, so I repair my tracks. Sorry, not my tracks, my wheels, and instantly, look, he's down on me. I leave the rapid mode of this vehicle, and now I use travel mode. And one thing that's quite hilarious is, like, this guy, if I really wanted, he just can't catch me now. So a light tank just can't catch this vehicle. I have to admit, later on, he does manage to hit one of my... Well, I'll just show it to you. He hits one of my wheels, and look, now I can't actually repair, and so my vehicle is much, much slower, and so having the tracks makes him much more mobile. So it's absolutely deadly when you get hit in one of the wheels of this thing because it does slow you down. However, if I'd played a little bit better there and I was more used to the mobility of the tank, then I could have probably been able to evade even one of the fastest light tanks in the game around a building like that. So you just imagine what you can do against a heavy tank, even when they're turning their turret and their tracks together in the correct direction at the same time to amplify their effective traverse, you can still outmaneuver them. So I got this tank yesterday, and I was so darn excited to play it that I actually played it for 46 games straight. I can't remember a time when I played 46 games of the same tank again and again and again and again. And while I felt like I was playing pretty okay in the tank, I have to admit, it's quite funny that my statistics of this vehicle have ended up being very similar to that of another Tier 8 French premium light tank like the ELC Even 90. Of course, it doesn't have any of the wheeled mechanics that I've just shown off in this video. But look, my damage was slightly higher at 1,468 compared to 1,334. My experience was pretty much 1,000 for both of these tanks on average in each one of the games. And I win 61% of my games in each of these two vehicles. And look how close my assistance damage is as well. 1,221 average in the EBR and 1,234 average in the Even 90. I'm spotting between 3 and 4 tanks per game, and I'm getting slightly more kills in the EBR, which I can definitely attribute to the vehicle's enhanced sniping capacity. But all in all, things are eerily similar. So my initial impressions about this vehicle is that, while it does have a high skill cap, and I'm definitely going to have to learn the intricate details of it, and hopefully I'm going to get better and better playing new wheeled vehicles, I don't see this tank specifically as being some kind of new overpowered mechanic, and everybody's going to have to go out and buy this tank because everything else now sucks. That's definitely not the case. I would think that I'm far more dominant in my LT432, for example. I win 74% of my games and I deal 1,700 average damage in this tank. And I'm actually spotting more as well. I'm doing 1,432 spotting on average in this vehicle. So that's 3k combined compared to the EBR, which I'm doing much less damage, I'm doing much less spotting, and my win ratio is suffering because of that. And that comes down to the fact that this tank just doesn't have the view range. It doesn't have the view range to be outrageously overpowered, to spot everything at long range, to avoid those tanks, to be able to make pushes where it feels safe. Whenever you push, you feel like you're living on the edge. You feel like your life is always at risk because you can't outspot everything else. And the fact that Wargaming don't allow you to use binoculars in this tank means that it's not some kind of overpowered new passive scout. And so all in all, and while remember, these are my first day impressions of the tank, I've played 46 games in it, I think it's fairly balanced. But one thing's for sure, is it's really fun. Now, of course, there are going to be some players out there who will just love artillery, and some players out there who just absolutely love playing sneaky tank destroyers, glass cannons that sit at the back of the map. These are going to be your nightmare, ladies and gents, let me tell you. These things can get through your lines, use its magazine to kill you, and possibly even get out before your team have had a chance to be able to get back to protect you. And so maybe wheeled vehicles are actually going to be the solution to the artillery problem that a lot of players feel that there is in the game right now. Artillery are going to have to be a lot safer. They're going to have to not risk going out into the field of Paris, sitting at the back of the map and thinking, they're going to die before they manage to get to me. I don't think that's going to be the case. An EBR with a boost mode is going to be able to cross the Paris Valley, well, not valley, really, the field, past the Eiffel Tower, find that artillery and get out. And so I must commend Wargaming for introducing just a whole new type of tank and a whole new feeling of playing World of Tanks into the game 8 years into its release. I think this tank is also going to have quite a high skill cap, and I think some people who purchase this vehicle, while they're going to have fun, I really don't think they're going to be influential in the battle. And if you were a light tank driver out there who were worried that the new wheeled light tanks were going to completely replace your tank class, nah, it's not going to be the case either. To be honest, I think you've got more to worry about from medium tanks with ultra-high view range just poaching you on ridge lines than you do about wheeled light tanks. And so there you have it, ladies and gents. That is my review of the Panhard EBR. And consequently, I'm really hopeful for the new French wheeled light tanks coming relatively soon. And if you haven't done so already, ladies and gents, make sure you check the accelerated crew training in your ELC AMX, because it's very likely that the wheeled vehicles are going to come out from here. So if you want to get them as soon as they do come out, then you want to start preparing now. Probably save up about 20,000-30,000 experience. I think that should be enough. Anyway, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this video, or maybe it was just useful for you. If it was, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments what you think about the wheeled vehicles, and especially the Panhard EBR. Do you think the vehicle looks absolutely crazy overpowered? Do you think that it looks just about right? Do you think that it looks actually underpowered? Are you excited about the prospect of wheeled light tanks going into the game, or do they all look a little bit too fast for you? It might affect the speed of the game and change World of Tanks forever, at least in a negative way, in your opinion. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.